Dalton, Tiffany Henyard, lashed out at her board of trustees during another tense meeting.
She vetoed the board's decision to require the village to open its financial books, as well as the board's call for a federal investigation.
Those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No, God. Why?
Are you in charge? Who's in charge?
And a power struggle is also playing out.
It's a police standoff, but it's unlike any you've seen. It's unclear exactly who is running the police department and the rest of the village, as Mayor Tiffany Henyard struggles to show that she...
At some point, there would be 2 officers or 3 officers, and depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more.
The foundation is not registered, but it has nothing to do with you.
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
So you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines.
Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard's carefully crafted impressions are rapidly collapsing as accusations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and hidden agendas begin to surface. In addition to politics, the trust of a whole community is at stake, and Henyard is allegedly using the race card to avoid responsibility. This tactic might be backfiring, alienating the very people she says she represents, and this is only the beginning. Imagine a video that Henyard doesn't want Black America to see, but we're exposing it today to find out why the community as a whole and Dalton's Black residents are turning against her. What's the true story behind the? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this scandal than anyone else. But before we reveal all the details, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more updates and videos like this one. The charity scam has everyone talking, and why are federal agents pursuing her like sharks?
Help each other, not hurt each other, and it's a shame that I'm talking about Black and brown communities, will sit here and
but now Keith Freeman is cooperating, doing what he should have been done in the first place.
Cooperating with trustees.
With the trustees, absolutely, doing his job.
The board vowed to override her veto and say they have the votes to do it.
The mayor can blame everybody for what's going on, but she has to look at herself.
Although charitable work is supposed to be about helping people in need and giving back, in Tiffany Henyard's world, it appears to be just another means of achieving personal success. For instance, the so-called cancer organization inexplicably failed to submit its financial records. How can something so significant just go unnoticed?
On this national platform, you said you didn't know anything about a foundation. So you forget that I was in certain rooms when certain things happened. And the reason I don't support you is because you were not honest about that foundation. I was in a room when it started.
Founded in the autumn of 2002 to support cancer patients, the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation has swiftly become embroiled in controversy regarding its legitimacy and financial transparency. Despite extensive promotion by Henyard, who also serves as the township supervisor, the foundation has been accused of being a scam, with many doubting its actual purpose and how its funds are being used. The township board gave $110,000 nearly immediately after the foundation was established, which prompted questions. What's even more concerning is that during the foundation's first several months, it only apparently raised $333,000 from other sources. There are now major worries regarding the foundation's operations due to the stark contrast between the township's substantial initial funding and the meager follow-up fundraising.
Your CARES Foundation, a non-for-profit organization whose mission is to find meaningful relief for people dealing with all types of cancer.
The foundation's obvious lack of responsibility and transparency in its finances was brought up by Trust Carla in a recent special meeting. Concerned about the payment approval procedure, Carla and other trustees emphasized the necessity for more comprehensive documentation and communication on financial choices. Since the organization has been ordered by the Illinois Attorney General to stop raising money because it hasn't, submit the necessary tax returns that should reveal how the funds have been used. One major criticism of Henyard is her defensive demeanor during these meetings. When asked about the foundation's financial management, she frequently avoids responsibility by claiming that the township's procedures are being followed correctly. However, this defense hasn't done much to allay the growing suspicions among the trustees and the public, who are beginning to doubt the foundation's legitimacy.
Foundation is not registered, but it has nothing to do with you.
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Correct.
People are furious about the foundation's use of public resources and staff for its operations. What's even more concerning is that the foundation received a significant sum of taxpayer-funded funds from the township without any clear oversight. Many people believe Henyard has used her position of authority to divert public funds into a private project that hasn't turned out to be legitimate. Her responses to these accusations haven't helped either, as she has been seen avoiding responsibility by saying she is only the foundation's spokesperson and that things are put in her name with little involvement from her. This lack of ownership has only increased suspicions that the foundation may be a scam. In addition, Henyard's attempts to utilize her charity to improve her public image have failed. For instance, when she appeared before a committee regarding the foundation's goal of helping cancer patients, her credibility was damaged by her ambiguous and badly worded statements. Additionally, she attempted to rebrand her current company's social media accounts to promote the foundation, which many saw as a deceptive attempt to draw attention to and validate the charity. However, the situation has now escalated into a federal investigation, with federal agents conducting a criminal probe into Henyard's actions earlier this year. The situation is not looking good for her, as last week they issued a request for a mountain of financial reports and business records. The self-proclaimed super mayor, Henyard, has been hit with 2 subpoenas, one focusing on her personal business operations and the other on township finances, for allegedly using taxpayer funds for personal expenses, like paying for an expensive police security detail and taking lavish, needless trips. The initial request for Asana employees keep wage and tax records. She manages her political action committee, her charity, and contracts and checks made out to cash from Henyard's many ventures, including a restaurant. The second subpoena objective is financial records for the town, including budgets, payroll documents, credit card usage policies, and expense reports. Reimbursements, security information, and vehicle utilization. The investigation's wide scope makes it obvious that Henyard is the primary target. Former FBI agent Ross Rice told Fox 32, "Given the number of people and organizations they are requesting records on, there must be some serious allegations of wrongdoing that they are attempting to investigate." Henyard has been criticized for using local police as her personal security detail, costing taxpayers $1 million. Local officials claim that her demands have made it more difficult for them to carry out their duties and maintain community safety. In response to these revelations, the Dolton Village Board unanimously decided to look into allegations in March. The board urged the FBI to start its own investigation and hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, a veteran federal prosecutor, to examine Henyard's spending using taxpayer funds. But she blocked the inquiry with a veto. The findings were startling and demonstrated a sharp decline in Dolton's finances since Henyard assumed office in 2021. The township's general fund fell from $5.6 million in April 2022 to a $3.65 million deficit by May 2024, representing a roughly $9 million swing in only 2 years.
Spent, she found overtime, especially with 2 officers, kept jumping year after year. 2 officers racked up in overtime, nearly doubling their salaries. One officer made $108,000, then $114,000 in overtime.
In addition to highlighting the overall financial decline, Lightfoot's report included specific examples of alleged misuse of taxpayer funds. For example, village credit cards were used for extravagant purchases, including an astounding $33,500 spent on Wayfair. These and other dubious transactions have raised serious concerns about the whereabouts and use of taxpayer funds. Kiana Baylor, a village trustee, conveyed the annoyance and sense of betrayal of the community. Describing the circumstances as a slap in the face for the residents of Dolton, the investigation also revealed that checks totaling more than $6 million had been authorized but never delivered to suppliers, causing disarray in the village's financial obligations. Tammy Brown didn't mince words when she said that nothing will ever change if the community doesn't acknowledge the corruption immediately. She pushed for a huge leadership transition by February 2025, insisting that important adjustments be made to clear up the issue. But the financial mismanagement doesn't stop there. The Dothan Police Department also had troubling payment problems, according to the investigation. 2 officers got overtime pay that was higher than their yearly wage, with one earning close to $115,000 in overtime on top of his $87,200 salary. The village's financial oversight and responsibility are seriously called into question by this kind of excess.
That amount of money under no circumstance. But Tiffany Henyard then rehired him and put him in a new position as the actual police chief, which you have to be sworn into that position.
These discoveries were made. Public sources had already warned that Dalton was in financial trouble, possibly not being able to pay its employees in the upcoming weeks. It has been nearly 3 years since Tiffany Henyard became the first female mayor of Dalton, and her tenure has been marred by controversy. She is also the township of Thoron's mayor. Henyard is now at the center of accusations of corruption and political retaliation, with her image prominently displayed outside Village Hall, which contrasts sharply with the mounting list of accusations against her. Critics include trustees, business owners, and even the sick. She has allegedly treated village finances as her own piggy bank, according to the Illinois Attorney General's office. Trustee Jason House has specifically called her out for using costly tricks with village staff that have contributed to the multi-million-dollar deficit. Henyard appears to have more problems than a haunted house, and despite her attempts to deflect by playing the race card, the evidence against her keeps growing. All the while, Dalton's debts and unpaid bills continue to pile up. This probe is not a little thing. To make matters worse, it may signal the end of Tiffany Henyard's political career. One of Henyard's closest friends and police chief, Louis Lacey Dalton, has been charged with a crime that might put him in jail for a very long period. Insiders say Lacey's involvement in a financial fraud that has rocked Dothan is the reason behind his charges. Lacey was charged with bankruptcy fraud, making false statements in a bankruptcy case, and perjury at each hearing, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. The indictment begins with 9 counts alleging that Lacey lied under oath to conceal assets and income from creditors, avoiding the payment of over $40,000 in a lawsuit settlement.
Handpicked acting police chief Louis Lacey after their investigation found he collected $200,000 in overtime that they say he wasn't entitled to. Mayor Henyard wasn't having it. She insists Lacey is still the village's top cop.
At a recent court appearance, Madison resident Lacey, 61, dressed in a blue suit, recognized the charges against him momentarily before his lawyer, Delitsky, filed a not guilty plea on his behalf in spite of our protestations. Judge Beth Jantz, a magistrate, ordered Lacey to turn in his work gun and 2 more firearms. Judge Jantz said that if his lawyer could show how these limitations would affect his position with the Dothan Police Department, she may reevaluate them. He had the pistol at home and his owner's identity card. October 1st is the day of the status hearing before U.S. District Judge Thomas Durkin.
You have all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit your guilt first.
The charges against Lacey are unrelated to his official duties in Dothan, but his indictment adds another layer to the federal investigation into Mayor Tiffany Henyard's alleged corruption. This is the latest legal setback for Henyard, who has already faced multiple federal subpoenas this year. In response to the indictment, Lacey's attorney called the charges part of a larger witch hunt aimed at discrediting the mayor. He highlighted Lacey's long service to the Dothan community and his reputation as a skilled police officer. "This is a witch hunt to take down Mr. Lacey," Petke said, expressing his belief that Lacey is being targeted as a way to undermine Henyard. Petke is contesting the validity of that decision, claiming that the trustees lack the right to put Lacey on administrative leave and that he should still be paid. They are acting in a manner that, in my opinion, is illegal. Petke mentioned that the checks are signed by the mayor, A history of financial mismanagement is revealed in the indictment, including several personal bankruptcy filings from the 1980s. The most recent petitions, filed in 2019 and 2020, allegedly permitted Lacy to postpone implementing a 2017 settlement agreement with the plaintiff in a state court lawsuit. The lawsuit concerned a woman whose husband was killed in Dalton in 2012, and the lawsuit claims that Lacy visited her multiple times and convinced her to turn over tens of thousands of dollars from her husband's life insurance income. The lawsuit was settled for $55,000, with Lacy admitting in court documents that he had visited her out of sympathy and concern for her safety, but denying taking any money. The fraud charges indicate that Lacy filed for bankruptcy twice to avoid paying the remaining $443,000. Court documents show that Lacy made false statements under oath to the bankruptcy court, concealed bank accounts, and underreported his monthly income, including claims that he was separated from his wife, significantly underestimating his income and avoiding creditors. This indictment seems to be the start of a more extensive probe into the political activities in Henyard. Framework, the Dalton Police Department is said to have become her personal squad under Henyard's leadership, allegedly extorting local businesses, intimidating political rivals, and providing private security for her and her allies. Despite the mounting charges, Henyard is reportedly trying to maintain control over the police, recently ordering officers to continue following orders from her chosen police chief despite the trustees' vote to place him on leave due to fraud charges and allegations that he took $200,000 in unearned overtime. Lacy is not just any police chief. He has been one of Henyard's most devoted enforcers, allegedly doing her dirty work for years.
Chief Louis Lacy, who was fired this week, also made a killing in overtime. Check out how much he was paid in overtime since 2022. Last fiscal year, the village paid him $96,000 in addition to...
News Nation was able to secure a video in which Tiffany Henyard can be heard urging police officers to quit engaging in these pointless games. Lacy then issues a warning to the employees saying, "Do what you want, but anything after this is insubordinate, or else they will suffer the consequences." Henyard doesn't want you to know this, but there is a powerful substitute for servitude. Edward Steve, a former trustee who has spoken out against Henyard's alleged corruption, is getting ready to run for office once more. The residents of Dalton could be ready for a change.
Poster child for black ignorance, black arrogance, black dysfunction. Now we want to be the poster child for black love, black excellence, black unity, and most importantly, black self.
Steve exemplifies all that Tiffany Henyard lacks: honesty, openness, and a genuine commitment to helping the community. But he is not the only one who disagrees. Robert Collins, the former chief of police in Dalton, South Suburban, spoke out 6 months ago. Regarding the contentious security detail offered to Henyard, for the first time, Collins disclosed how the mayor's expectations for personal safety make it more difficult for him to properly fight crime in the neighborhood.
Those officers to be on the street fighting crime, and instead we have several officers that are riding around protecting.
Under Collins' direction, a 2023 Fox 32 investigation revealed that the Tiffany Henyard security detail not only removed officers from the streets, but also accrued thousands of dollars in overtime expenses for taxpayers. A major problem arose from the strain on police resources. The department was already overburdened and about to collapse. Collins clarified that patrol, rather than having officers. After being fired by Henyard late last year, Collins expressed his dissatisfaction with the situation by describing how he led a department that was already understaffed and overworked while having to devote resources to Henyard's extensive personal security detail. They were reassigned to protect the mayor, who is currently living in Florida.
Point, there would be 2 officers or 3 officers, and depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more officers.
It turns out that Dalton police officers were using their days to drive Henyard from one location to another, frequently to her second taxpayer-funded position as Thornton Township Supervisor in South Holland. "We desperately need those officers on the streets fighting crime," Collins said, but instead they were assigned to chauffeur the mayor around. This is wrong, and someone needs to be held accountable. Requests for open records, These officers' hundreds of hours of overtime were discovered to have cost taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. There were significant worries about the degree of security for a community with only 20,000 citizens and a precarious economic situation. Dolton frequently only has a small number of cops on duty during the shift, and Collins contended that these officers were desperately required elsewhere. In 2021, the security detail was first justified following, and Collins acknowledged that the security detail was required during that tense time. But as the protests subsided, it not only continued but also expanded. He quickly discovered that officers were being used for personal errands rather than legitimate security needs. The police involvement in the Dolton shooting sparked protests and threats against Henyard. Collins claims that police working in the Henyard were frequently dispatched to perform errands, pick up and drop off goods, and manage other. Since officers accompany Henyard on out-of-town visits, the security detail accrued thousands of dollars in travel fees for duties unrelated to safeguarding the mayor. Why would the mayor require a security detail for out-of-town trips? Who exactly is a threat to me in these far-off places? Collins said,
There would be 2 officers or 3 officers, and depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more.
Collins' attempts to combat crime in Dolton were significantly impeded by the needs of Henyard security details. In February, a mass shooting on Sybil Boulevard left 4 persons injured. Collins believes that this incident could have been avoided with a more robust police presence. Gangs, illicit firearms, and drugs are major problems in Dolton, and Collins underlined that police should be on the streets helping the people. When Fox 32 tried to confront Mayor Henyard about her use of the police detail, Village Administrator Keith Freeman stepped in, obscuring the camera and preventing any responses, giving criminals the confidence to attack when law enforcement visibility is low. Collins revealed to me that he encountered a similar level of opposition when attempting to raise the matter with Freeman, who rejected his worries that I was required to comply with these directives. Collins remarked that Tiffany Henyard has done everything in her ability to conceal these problems, so why haven't we heard more about them? Given the escalating federal investigations, Dolton must now determine whether to support a mayor who prioritizes her personal interests over the community's or to offer a chance to someone who sincerely wants to make a difference. The community's declining trust and the readiness of a new leader to take over Henyard's hold on power are eroding. The truth about her leadership is emerging, and it will only be a matter of time until her entire world falls apart. What do you think about this situation? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you liked the video, please hit the bell for more updates and like and subscribe. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.